Alright, what's up guys? So today I'm going to be talking about why I feel ball pythons cannot, well, I mean they can, but why I feel they're a little overrated. So, first off, they can be like, I'm just going to go right into it. First off, they can be like really picky eaters. So, what that means is sometimes as babies they'll only accept live food. So like, and this is from my personal experience, like I've had a ball python before and it would not eat. Like it was like stressful because it would not eat. Maybe my conditions were a little off or something, I don't know, in the enclosure. But I mean, even if your conditions are like on point, they go on hunger strikes, and that can be like a real pain in the ass for most keepers. So yeah, that's number one. And like I was trying to feed it frozen and it would not take. And I don't know, I guess the breeder lied to me and said it was on, he said it was on frozen. So I fed frozen, it wouldn't take. So I'm assuming it would only eat live, and I wasn't going to do that because it's just not something I would do. Live food can damage the snake, and it's just, I'm not a fan of feeding live food. So, that's number one reason why ball pythons may be not the best beginner snake, is because they may, if your conditions ain't on point, they may not eat. They go on hunger strikes, they may not take frozen food, they're just a pain in the ass to get to eat. And I've had one, so I had to give it back because it wouldn't eat. And it was like losing weight and shit. It was just a really stressful experience. So, number two, I'd say, is that, you gotta make sure their conditions are more on point. They come from Africa, they hide in like these little burrows in Africa, and that's kind of all they do. I'm not saying they're not hardy, because they can be. They can live long, and they're not super hard to care for. They're pretty easy to care for. It's just that, their temperature's got to be correct. They can't be a little off or something, or they'll get stressed, they'll go off food, they'll hide a lot, that sort of thing. And they gotta have like really hot basking spot. So that's something to think about. Number three, I'd say the worst thing about keeping ball pythons is that, I don't know, this is just my personal opinion, I think they're kind of boring. Now, they come in a wide variety of colors and shit, so they're cool to look at. But like for handling, they're good to handle because they're like super docile. Like they won't try to bite you or nothing. But they just kind of sit there. They'll kind of sit there in like a little ball. Like they'll curl up in a little ball. That's why they're called ball pythons. Like they'll curl up and they'll kind of just hide from you. They're not really. They won't really explore around. They will a little bit, but they're just really slow moving, and I don't know. Maybe, my personal opinion, that ain't really that fun to handle. They're good to handle, like, don't get me wrong here, I like ball pythons, I always thought they were really cool, but it's just there's some care requirements and stuff that just, they're not that easy, like, as people make them out to be, you know what I'm saying? So, now I'm going to explain a snake that I think is actually a better beginner pet. And this is actually not a very popular opinion. Most people put these as like intermediate snakes, but hey man, in my opinion, I think they're a good beginner snake, and that is the BCI boa constrictor. As you can see, he's in his water dish there. He likes soaking a lot. So what I'm going to say about them is that, first off, they're really good eaters. Like, he eats whenever I feed him, which is every 10 days right now because he's still a baby. And then I'll probably bump him up to 14 days when he's about, I don't know, maybe like a year or two old. Maybe after I've had him for a year or two, I'll bump him up to like every 14 days. You give him a prey item that's about the same width as his body. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they'll take frozen food, they'll take live food, they'll take whatever you got. I mean, they're not picky eaters. They'll eat. Like, if you feed them, they're gonna eat. That's what I like about them. You don't have to worry about them going off food or like not eating or like that kind of shit. So, what else I'm gonna say is that their care requirements, I personally think they're more hardy than ball pythons, like, because, you know, if your heat ain't exact or if your humidity's a little off, they're still gonna eat, they're still gonna thrive, they're not gonna like hide away or like, you know, not eat like how a ball python would. And, you know, the third reason is I think they're more like better to handle because they move around more, they're funner to handle, they like to climb on stuff. You know, I just think they're cool to handle, and they're like really docile too. If you handle them a lot as a baby, they'll grow up to be like really cool snakes. The only downside I can think to them is that if you get a female, I mean the females get like kind of big, you know, so you have to think about like a big enclosure to put them in. The females can get like, I don't know, at the max size 8 to 9 foot for a BCI. Maybe, yeah, like 7 to 9 foot, I'd say, for a female BCI. Now, the BCCs, I would not get a BCC because the true red tails, because they can get like 10 to 11 feet, and they need like strict humidity requirements too. Like, they're not really the best beginner snake either. So, like, a good beginner snake, in my opinion, would be the BCI boa, just a regular BCI boa. And if you're a beginner, I would get a male because they stay like 5 to 7 feet, in my opinion. They'll be like 5 to 7 feet. They'll need like a 4-foot enclosure, which ain't that, you know, it ain't that hard to find. You can buy it like off of Chewy or, I don't know, Amazon. They sell the Reptizoo enclosures. I think they're pretty cool, like the terrariums. Right now I just have him because he's a baby in like a 10-gallon aquarium, which some people would say isn't that good, but in my opinion, if you cover some of the screen like I have, and if you have the clips on each side to make it escape proof, I have the foil above the water dish so when it evaporates, the humidity will kind of stay in there. And I pour water in the substrate a lot, so I keep the humidity pretty good in there. And then some people would argue that the light ain't good, but I mean, you know, in the wild, how else do they get heat? From the sun going down. They don't get it from an under tank heater lifting up. You know, I never really understood that, why people use under tank heaters. I was always more of a light bulb fan. You know. And then I have this temp gun to measure the temperatures right here. You know, it's kind of cold in this room because it's morning. I'm running a space heater in here right now, so it should warm up. But if the temperature drops down and at nighttime, it's not really gonna harm them. You know, as soon as I turn the light on in the morning, it will start to warm up. The room's gonna warm up with the heater. See, I have my space heater right there. So, you know, I personally think boas are much easier to care for. And that's just my opinion. Like, they'll take food, you know, they're not really picky about their humidity or temperatures. They're not going to die because you don't have them right on point. They're more easy to raise than ball pythons. The only downside is that if you get a female, it might get really big. That's the only downside. But if you get a male, I mean, they're not going to get huge. They'll get pretty big, but not like huge or nothing. So that's my opinion. I mean, they're just really cool looking. Like, they have these little mustaches on their face. He's about to go in a shed right now. That's why his eyes look like that. And that's another thing I like about them. Like, if they go in a shed, I mean, they'll shed their whole piece. Like, with ball pythons, they'll shed in like pieces if the humidity ain't right on point. They're just more picky to deal with. Now, I like them, don't get me wrong, I like ball pythons. They're just more, I don't know, they're more for advanced keepers, I think, in my opinion. So, alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Like and subscribe, and, you know, I'll make more videos about this. Alright, peace out.